Suzanne's brown and white mink striped coat transformed into a throw and a pillow. With this throw, I tried to continue the straight lines, and it is and was a very challenging throw. Hi, my next project is this beautiful mink coat. It is striped with a white fur as well as a brown fur. The inside of the lining is not going to be used because it's not in the greatest shape, as you can see here, but we do have other options. The customer does want her monogram saved, so we will be saving this as well. The back is nice and big, so there is a lot of fur to work with this particular coat. So I'm really excited to get started with it. So let's start. Starting to remove the lining and all the supportive material. What's challenging about this particular fur are the way that the lines and the fur are sewn together. So having to keep a continuous straight line, which you'll see later on, can be extremely challenging. After it was all deconstructed, I found some personalization on the inside of the fur. I thought that was pretty cool. Now I'm laying it out, and as you can see, the top of the fur, there is more white than there is brown. Right here, I'm just removing the monogram that the customer would like me to hold on to. And now, because there is such a wide bottom, and it flares out a lot, and the white part on the top would look very odd because there's not enough to go across the whole throw, I decided to pin it across the top. This way, when I cut it, I'm going to use that top portion on the bottom and top of the borders. So here I'm just cutting it out. I'm following along. There were some markings on the inside of the fur itself, so I followed that along, and that helped out quite a bit. But I did have the pins on the bottom, so I was able to follow along pretty much on target. Now the next challenge is to try to get those straight lines as straight as possible. You can see I cut away the top part, so I'm going to have to add onto the strips that I cut. And you'll see a close-up of those in a couple of minutes. I did contemplate darts for a while, but then I realized that I would be cutting away too much fur and I would lose a lot in the process. So I went with the strips instead. Once the strips were cut, now the challenge is to try to make the fur appear that it's one continuous line with each individual strip. So as you can see, I have a lot of pieces that I'm going to put together like a jigsaw puzzle to make a straight, as you can see here, continuing those brown lines and trying to keep the same width of the white strip together. This was the extremely challenging part. So there was a lot of piecing back and forth trying to make those lines continue so it doesn't look like there's a break in the fur. It took quite a bit of time auditioning individual pieces, looking to see which would be the best continuation of each one, and I moved them around quite a bit before I finally decided on the final layout. Once I had the layout, I sewed all the pieces together, and here I am evening out the bottom. And once that's cut, it's time to work on the borders. With the top and bottom border, I'm using the top of the fur that I had originally cut. These are the wider white pieces, and putting them together also was challenging, trying to see what would look the nicest. So once the borders were done, it's just a matter of clipping them all together, putting that cold tape on. That will help support the stitching. And that's what it looked like once it was done. So from there, we put on the backing, quilted it, flipped it over, sewed it together, and in this corner I have the monogram. The monogram is in the top corner of the throw. The measurements were 55 inches wide by 48 inches. There's the cute little monogram. And onto the pillow. So the customer chose to have an 18 by 18 inch pillow made. I used one of the sleeves to create the pillow. To protect the fur side, I cut an 18-inch square piece of muslin, and then I used grosgrained ribbon on the edges to also help support and protect the fur once it is sewn together. I cut that all the way around, and I clip the grosgrained ribbon onto the fur side. Once that's done, I layer it with the backing, which also contains the zipper that I had previously made, using a brown satin lining for the back of the pillow. Here I am clipping it all the way around, finding the corners. And with this particular one, I didn't trim the backing to the complete 18 inches, and I layered it, and then once it was layered, I go back, measure it out, and now I'm going to cut the excess off the bottom. I always make them a little bit bigger. Then I continue to clip the bottom, and there it is completed. It is really beautiful and quite stunning to look at. As I said, one of my most challenging fur throws and pillow sets, but I couldn't be more pleased. They're gorgeous. The wave design on the back of the backing, and they complement each other so well. Just really, really pretty. So come visit us at dinahsquilts.com.